We're restarting the stream. I felt a lot better after the bathroom break that I took. Uh, that's why the other one vanished because I only spoke for about maybe 20 minutes before. I just couldn't take it anymore. That's a problem with a lot of times I do the Saturday stream because I usually try to eat something before, and then it might mess with my stomach depending on um, how things are going. To restate some of the things I was talking about, I mentioned that I spoke to my best friend yesterday and we had an interesting conversation where we talked about how a lot of the people that give advice, especially the unsolicited advice online, right? Like I had people in real life that would give me advice, but a lot of the ones on the computer tend to do that from a place of antagonism and being as much against you as possible. Um, and I mentioned the hypothetical where if a man were to like go to the gym or do any of this other stuff, right? Like go and become a millionaire, become famous, and they still weren't able to get a woman, you're not going to see those people who gave you that advice say, "Hey, this is screwed up. What the hell is wrong with these chicks? Why would they uh turn down this guy that is muscular, that's and they won't say that. They'll go, "Oh, you must have approached in a weird way. Oh, you must have misspoken or said this or freaked her out or creeped her out or been awkward." So you see how it's just this never ending maze of like different stuff they're going to trip you up over. They're going to like keep finding, and it's always stuff they create headcanon, like fan fiction, because they weren't there. So they have to just say whatever to justify the continued result that you would have received anyway, because these chicks aren't interested in dating anybody. That's why you have entire groups online dedicated to this topic. But people they don't want to think too hard, so I'll let them continue saying their stuff. Now we were going to talk about how when people respond to those, and a lot of them might say they won't do that, but it's like, you know, you really can see it because when you go and look on my comment section, especially like when I did the I've been criticized for everything video, you saw all these different guys, and I think there might have been a chick in there as well, find 10, 15, 20 different ways to critique me, most of which wasn't even actually critiquing or addressing anything I said. It was just, I've been observing you and I've concluded your personality is this. I don't think you're pretty enough to have a woman. So it was just, people with their head canon. And you can use that to infer how they would react in that scenario where they would, still blame you and say that you did something wrong, because they never are going to criticize chicks under any circumstance. So I said they act like villains. I hope the guys from earlier come. If they don't come, that's all right. I'm not sweating it too much. Oh. But the next romance video is probably going to be the women's many options one, and it's something that I think needs to be addressed, because a lot of the people on here that start selling the fairy tale, Disneyland narrative that you're going to just keep getting rejected over and over, but then there's going to be this magic woman that likes you so much, you live happily ever after. They always like to leave out that a lot of chicks who you would have been content with are only discontent with you because they like somebody more. They have all these other men that are nipping at their heels. And even if it's not some excessive amount, like let's say it's 5, 10, 15, that still is a hell of a lot better than most guys will get. And I explained that the way this works is that chicks are afraid to approach men. Like they've said that online before, that in general, they're afraid to approach men. So men that theoretically would be attractive to some chicks, right? To a couple, whatever, hear nothing from them because they're afraid to say anything to them, which causes the man to have to like go out there and like be assertive toward different chicks, who at the same time as he's being assertive toward her, she has another 2, 3, 4 guys, possibly even more, trying to say something to her either online or in person. So you see how one problem creates the other. Like chicks being afraid to approach men they're actually interested in causes men to go out and talk to chicks who don't even like them. Because like if you don't do that, how else are you gonna get a date? See, like that's why when that broad said a different caliber of chick will approach you, I started laughing because you know it's been established on this very website that chicks will find men attractive and not say anything to them. Oh man, I clicked this thing by mistake. No, for that video, I've got screenshot. I don't have screenshots of everything because some of these encounters were a long time ago. Like there's one broad that was on Instagram who posted political stuff, and she would only maybe occasionally post what she looked like, maybe like 5 or 6 pictures of herself out of 200, 300 posts. And she ended up having, according to her, 10 men ask her on a date just from these few pictures that she posted. And I was like, I think she's attractive, but 10 men really on a broad nobody ever heard of? That's why I gave that example. If it was Scarlett Johansson or Zoe Saldana getting 50 and 40 and 30 men trying to talk to them, I would have no problem with that whatsoever because those are women that have tremendous accomplishments that not only most chicks but most people will never come anywhere close to. But a random broad nobody ever heard of post on a website, "Hi, my name is," and then like will just say, "Oh, say something to me," or "Let's be friends," whatever, and she gets all these men to try to talk to her. It's crazy. And again, a lot of those romance guys especially on this website, they don't like when people talk about the options that chicks have because it pokes a hole in, like, a lot of this stuff towards self-improvement is based on mind over matter, and it's the idea that you as a singular person, if you just do enough things, you can somehow overcome external factors that are out of your control. Like if a woman speaks to other men, if she doesn't think you're attractive, just because she doesn't find you attractive, and it's harder for them to sell that when there's like all this other competition coming from guys that are just going to screw you over or be part of what screws you over because you're all trying to approach the same person. No, they don't mention this ever when they start doing their advice thing because they know no man wants to be part of a woman's reverse gender harem. Hello, broad no one's ever heard of. Is this the 30th man that approached you this year? Yep. Dude, that was funny when that broad said that chicks that would start approaching me. I was like, in real life, no, I genuinely believe I could have all. You know what? I'll say it like this: I don't believe for as long as I lived, I would be approached by a woman in real life. You can get mad, you can cry, you can say, "Oh my God, you're so unconfident," because like they find men attractive and still don't say anything to them. Like chicks aren't assertive, at least on this topic anyway. Hell, you saw what the one that that asked me on a date did last month or the month before last. That was insane. Women are too scared to approach men, forcing men to talk to women who don't even see them as equal. Right, but it also causes a bunch of men to go and talk to one chick who they're not aware has like all these other guys speaking to her at the same time. So like chicks are literally rewarded for their cowardice because since one gender approaches the other, it causes this effect where it's a bunch of men swarming one broad who's going to end up like not even dating or being with most of them anyway. No, people on this website got so mad at me over the hooker thing. They were like, "How could you say that it's better for a man to try to get with the hooker than with the?" It was like, well, I just don't see why I, as an individual who likes to not have his time wasted, would find it preferable to speak to a person for 2 or 3 months or maybe shorter, maybe longer, who will sit there and tell me all this stuff about how much they like speaking to me, but then if you ask them on a date, it's too much. So like they get away with like wasting your time over and over. Like, why would I find that preferable to just going to Vegas over the weekend and either getting a date or getting screwed by someone who, again, will actually do it for a price? I even told my friend that same example. I was like, aren't you? Because this guy, whatever his name is, said that like a talk just only doing things with hookers lose the novelty after all. I was like, well, talking to a bunch of chicks who don't like you back, but will sit here and speak to you for these like continuous periods of time, but then not actually do anything romantic with you or say they're not interested in you has lost its novelty. Like, people can get mad, but if I ever do decide I want to get screwed again or like want to just, I have to go on a date, like feel some kind of compulsion to do it, it will be with the hooker. Like I'm not gonna keep playing this stupid game. It's taken too many years. It's been a complete waste of time. So, they can get mad if they want. I don't care. It makes no sense to talk to somebody for 2 or 3 months or even longer. That's not going to do it when I can pay somebody to do it over a weekend. Stuff doesn't add up. So I said people put too much stock on a woman. They really do. They make the things they can do sound like they're unattainable when they're actually not. Like maybe getting a girlfriend is impossible, but actually like getting a date or sexual favors from abroad is not hard if you can pay for it. Just like I told my friend about that sugar dating thing that guy was talking about. And I said to him, isn't it sad that I make it very clear, maybe not in every stream, maybe not in each video, that I'm not interested in being with someone who only likes me or likes me for what they presume that I own. And then this guy's solution to that is, oh, you should try this style of dating where it's chicks being with men because they like whatever they presume the man to own. And I told him, well, look, it wouldn't, and I even gave him this example. Would you rather be with a woman and under this concept that only likes you for what you own and have to spend God knows how much money to keep her in this supposed relationship? Or would you just rather have a hooker do what you want over a 2-day period? And he picked the 2-day period because like nobody wants to sit here and have their resources drained by broads that pretend to like them. People love saying incredibly dumb things, acting like doubling down it makes them right, as if what they said is so profound that they must die on the hill defending it. Yeah. You said something like similar to that a while ago. I forgot what stream it was on, but it was like these people typed this stuff and they acted like what they wrote was so profound. Like, I got him. I guess they giving you an ultimatum, either be attractive or pay to play, and the third option, endless self-improvement. Yeah, but like I said, we've actually seen people do certain parts of self-improvement and it never stops. Like I know a guy with muscles that got rejected and they were like, well, you probably approached in a weird way. You're probably too ugly. So like I don't see how that's helpful. I told you most of the people online calling somebody ugly usually hide their face, which is hilarious. That's like the nice irony of that. And that's what really kills me. Like, you don't even talk about the way these broads look ever, hardly, except like maybe make a point of like, you can't say this when this happens. It's like they'll still attack you over your appearance because that's what men online do to other men. Be attractive. What does that even mean? Pay to play. Well, that's the thing, that like the pay to play thing, if you just do it every now and again, I don't really see what's wrong with it. But like actually entering a quote unquote relationship with someone who only likes you for what you own, Like that's basically just a different word for gold digger. Like I don't get how this guy actually wrote that and was like, maybe you should try this. It's like why? Or they tell you to approach average chicks even though they put. But it's like, Brandon, these people don't know what any of these broads I've ever approached look like because I don't post any of their pictures. So who's average? Dude, remember I told you that story about being on Reddit and the chick that didn't even show what she looked like had 50 men, told me that she had 50 men message her and showed like the screen. I was just, that was like the ultimate confirmation that as long as you have that triangle and you go online, when it comes to like getting a man to like you, you'll be all right at all times. Oh my god. They treat it like they're performing their ultimate attack and performing their big speech before unleashing their full power. I told you any normal guy that like tries to get a date at this point, like if he goes online, will be driven insane by the stuff that people do on here, and just like the stuff people say about chicks and the things chicks do will drive you nuts because you'll just be sitting there on that wheel. Oh, that video is gonna be real fun because I do think a lot of people tend to leave that out when they're having a conversation about this topic. Just all the different options that chicks have, which you always have to explain to them. It's not about someone not having the right to talk to other people. But in the social media era, where men who've never even met abroad can send her a message every day, it's just harder for any of us to have like a sustained interest. A lot of people don't seem to understand that. They want to start telling me about equal rights and remember that stupid thing that Broad said last month. I'm like, again, if things were actually fair, you would see chicks approaching men and having whole groups about getting rejected, but you don't. Man, where did I guess Jem just didn't get the memo to come back. That's always the worst part about like restarting a stream because you're like, oh man, is this person gonna return? Guess he won't show up. It is what it is. I'm not too upset. I would have preferred if he did show up, but it's not really something I can do anything about. No, I was really disappointed by the views on that last romance video. Didn't even get 100. That's always my bare minimum. I love it when people use romance as a jumping off point to whine incessantly about politics because no one will listen to their lunatic ramblings. Yeah, dude, I was watching this one stream and this bro was talking about the election. I'm like, what the hell are you? Not this one, the one before that, the 2016 one. I'm like, I mean, it's really cute for you to sit here and pretend like because Trump won, people can't get a date. Like, because I mentioned this stupid stuff's been going on for me since 2011. So it's funny when they always like they love to just find whatever they can think of to just stick in this topic and pretend it has some significance to this. Hey, I really do want to do I thought I heard some animal outside. I really do want to do the what's it, the romance comic book where like you explain how like for a man trying to get a date is really like being in a comic, like a superhero comic. Like you have plot twist, retcons. What's some other stuff from there? There was like 4 or 5 different things I jotted down, but just like I'll draw some parallels between stuff that happens in real life, really just only with chicks, and then stuff that happens in comics and how they like overlap. I feel like if I make that video, somebody's be like, "Oh, you're making a comic about," like, no, it's this is parallels. Just like there's an episode of this one show I used to really love when I was a kid, that like reminds me a lot of the chick stuff. Because like the heroes think they won, and then they find out that the guy who came to help them is actually planning on just destroying everybody. So it's it reminds me of that. To me, it just comes off like they have some pent up emotions and need therapy. Well, that's what they try to say about guys that get rejected by chicks, that you need to go into like you need psychological training, you need physical training at the gym. I was like, Jesus Christ, all this to get a date. They really want you to think like something's wrong with you if you believe this isn't going to change. Like, I'm just looking at a basic pattern. If you can meet a broad who, in the span of 1 week, goes from saying, I want to go on a date with you to, oh no, I don't think this will work out. I'm actually this sexuality and I just got really confused. Then what are you supposed to think? Like, who looks at that and is optimistic? But I told you that they want you to say, screw logic, screw saying things that make sense. Let's just throw everything out here and hope something sticks. Also, I showed my friend that picture of that costume for Supergirl in the Flash movie. He agreed that it looked terrible. He was, like when I said that it reminded me of a Spider-Man costume because it's like the red right here and then all blue down there. It's like, yeah, man, that thing was awful. Yeah, we didn't really get to talk much about Keaton coming back as Batman because we were discussing a bunch of like whenever me and him talk, it's usually like some big, wide-ranging discussion. So we didn't stay on it for that long. Because no normal, sane, mentally healthy person just starts rambling about irrelevant crap that clearly bothers them. Imagine saying people can't get a date because of an election. No, I'm so done with this chick stuff, man. Again, they can get mad, they can cry, they can scream, but if I ever want to go on a date or get screwed, it will be with a hooker. Not going to sit here and keep playing this game with these different chicks that will sit here and talk to you for weeks or months and then not be interested. That's weird. And it's a waste of time. It's great too. A lot of these people really sit here and they're like, yeah, just keep trying, just keep believing, keep holding out hope. No, I'm good. I hope James shows up on this stream because I haven't seen him. I think since Monday. We'll see what happens. We always have people that show up like 30 minutes late. They're like, hey, I just came. Yeah, that was real funny. He was like, "I never saw you say you wanted the Flash." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I never really talk about movies in general, so of course you wouldn't hear me say I want one." No, that was really funny. They're running with a concept I don't really like because I don't know why you would do Flashpoint for a first film, but whatever. And I remember when that comic came out, we couldn't believe it. Like, you're gonna make another reboot. Like, let's just erase everything you thought you knew. Like, all right. Now DC and Marvel just love their relaunches. Pick up the eighth issue one of this series. Like, well, you guys had this what a few years ago. No normal mentally well person. Yeah, I feel so bad for Banana Merchant having to write three comments back to back like this. Terrible. Yeah, it's one of the rare times I actually got to stream and it wasn't, other people here, so I can be as loud as I'd like. It's always such a rarity when it comes to really when it just comes to recording anything because you always thanks to the great terrific virus, I always have someone around. Makes it very difficult to actually record stuff. You always have to worry about, oh, am I being too loud? Am I gonna upset this other person? That's something I'm always worried about. Let's see what else is here. I think that's pretty much all of it for the chick stuff. So yeah, I'm probably gonna end up doing another video. It's gonna be about the many. I called it many options. I've got my thumbnail ready. I have a good chunk of the script. I'm gonna probably try to revise it or see if there's anything I want to change because that was written a few months ago, or I think a month ago. Somewhere around like in the past few months that was written. So I'll try to like look at it and see if everything is good. Try to do it this week. I want to also do a video probably about because I was mentioning like being interested in a Dragon Ball show, like a fan made show. Uh, I might do a video that kind of just like lays out the basic premise of it, but my biggest thing that makes me not want to do it is just strictly voice actors. Like I'm so sick and tired of those people in general that I kind of I'm not too excited about the prospect of having to deal with them again on something else. So just a really difficult group of people to get along with. They always find some way to screw up whatever they're doing. It's really incredible. Imagine if that was actually an achievement in life. Like just how many things can you ruin but via your participation? Because these people would be getting medals from just how much stuff they like to implode. That's another topic where people tried to make it my fault. That's why I did the stream, the most blame man of all time. You always can find someone that can like twist it to be you who was the reason for it. I even said on one video that not video but a stream that if I got stabbed by a woman Like, if a woman just came up and stabbed me, people would actually like, well, maybe you were looking at her the wrong way, and she might have been worried. They always find some some nonsense to get a broad out of being held accountable for anything. It's kind of scary too. Like, if you just think about how much emphasis people put on random chicks, it is really disturbing. And you will like sit there thinking about like, wait, so this broad nobody ever heard of is like worth more than me and like a dozen other men simply because she's a female, really? That's enough to get this person to have all this attention. Have you seen the videos on TikTok? I don't go on that website about chicks complaining about how men don't approach women anymore. Well, they could always approach men that they like. That's one solution. No, I haven't seen those videos. I hear about that website. I've never been on it. I only will ever see something from there if it's uploaded to YouTube or some other website. It's always been like this with women too. Well, like I'm just saying like this ridiculous overvaluing. Like I don't understand it. Random will fall to a woman's wayside to defend her even from the law. Yeah, that's how Jodi Arias had like different guys trying to defend her. But I'm saying that it's just so weird to me that like I can name chicks that it makes sense to have like multiple men actively interested in and trying to get with all the rest of that stuff. But with these broads, right? They've never done anything of any great noteworthiness. A lot of times it's just them posting like pictures on a website, and I don't understand why they have such a like I mean, it really does feel like all of these chicks that you talk to online, like even ones on, let's say, Reddit or something, right? Like are celebrities. It's so weird just from how much attention they get and this like overzealous amount of men trying to talk to them. It's insane. Like that chick that had the 50 guys ask her or like try to talk to her after her number was posted without even seeing what she looked like really is something I just think of. It's like they really that many of them came to like and again like people they tend to not understand this stuff unless you lay it out for them. Imagine doing everything you could to be physically attracted to the chicks, right? You go to the gym, all the rest of that stuff, grooming, whatever these people tell you to do. And then like you don't have hardly any chicks ever first show interest in you or none, right? But then some woman that these people don't even see what she looks like gets not 5, not 10, not 20, not 30, not 40, but 50 men to like try talking to her. That's why it's so disturbing to me that it really just tells you that to just get to like a little fraction of where chicks are in terms of how valued you are by the opposite sex, you have to like climb these rigorous mountains and you still don't even come anywhere close to getting that much attention. Even if you're way more famous than that person is, even if you've accomplished much more than that individual has, even if chicks can see you and they can't, and men can't see the broad, you're still going to do way worse with chicks than a woman will do with men, like almost no matter what you do. And I told you that all that self-improvement stuff does is open you up to a new Pandora's box of like different things you have to worry about. Like, I would hate to try to become a millionaire just to get a date, and then you're like worrying every chick you speak to is trying to get something out of you. And you're right to be afraid of that because nobody wants to be a random broad's bank. So that's why that disturbs me as much as it does. Just I know that no matter what I accomplished, it wouldn't matter if I had 100,000 subs and showed my face. If I posted that little tiny bit of information like she did, I wouldn't even have probably 5 chicks try to say something to me first. It's not even just about being fair. It's so ridiculously slanted in their favor that it's like, why even bother? Like, if they don't like you back, you're gonna get blamed by people who weren't there. You're gonna have your time wasted. Like, I just don't see what about this is remotely appealing to men. So that's why I said to hell with it. And you know that chicks don't care about you not approaching them because remember who's in my comment section and getting upset with me? Other men taking the place of chicks. So that was the point of that being creepy as hell. All that stuff just to get a date. Just to maybe get a date, that is. Told you if I made a video, if I came on here and said, if a woman wants to get a date with the man, she better go to the gym and become famous and own a car, I would get laughed at so quickly. No, they always have standards for one group and none for the other. And then they're surprised when the group that has all these like burdens pushed upon them doesn't want to do it anymore. They're like, wow, I can't believe you don't like having your time wasted. Who would have thought? What a big shock. And that'd be real funny to do like a parody video on how to get a girlfriend. Be like, I have now discovered the secret of how to get the woman. I'm going to share it with the whole world. That's so true. Every time I see a video about a man giving up on approaching, the people doing most of the slamming are doing most of the shaming are men says a lot. Right, Brandon, if it was such a problem that, like, let's say you decided I'm not going to bother talking to chicks anymore, right? You won't have women in the comment section calling you gay or saying that you're a quitter or that you're ugly. It's going to be other men. I can literally count on one hand how many chicks altogether have commented disparagingly on my stuff. Like this is something where you're making a decision that theoretically affects chicks and benefits other men because that's one less person in the competition, even though, again, it's like if it was such competition, you would already have met somebody by now, not 6, 7, 8 years after the fact. And then it's like other men that are just getting upset in the place of chicks. That's why I always found this topic so weird in terms of like the response you get, because you would think that like they would be glad or otherwise not care because it doesn't affect them and it's seemingly in a negative way, but then they still get so enraged that like I haven't seen any chicks type paragraphs about my love life. It's always other men writing novels. They'll write a whole chapter of a book about all the stuff you should do, and I've been observing you. It's like, come on, just go. Look at Dio being an 11th hour ranger. That's why I said, imagine saying you're not going to eat at McDonald's anymore and getting death threats from Burger King. You better swallow that Big Mac. Oh my God. Did you see Biden tuck his shirt over his pants while he was talking about kids? No, I didn't. And they've been saying all kind of weird stuff about what he does with people for years. It doesn't really matter because he still got elected anyway. So, yeah, I didn't vote for him, but how many millions of people did? Tens of millions. That was a really depressing election. Like when that election started, there was so much hope and optimism from progressives, and then by the time it was over, it's like, yeah, another person we don't like that is coasting victory because someone people hate more is like running against him. What a joy. Like if you compared like me in like February or March of 2019 to me of like from like August or September of last year, you would see this big shift. Like no more happiness, no more excitement. Just here we go. I'm so excited. I can hardly contain myself. American politics have become a football game. I think they've been that way for a very long time. It's not something new. Will this team take back the Senate this year? Will this team take back the House this year? Will this team take back the White House next year? Been playing the game for a long time. And in some cases it was that way, but it was like really it wasn't as topsy turvy, like switching back and forth excessively. Like for example, the Democrats had the House for 42 years from 1952 to like 94 until Clinton screwed up the healthcare stuff, and the Republicans had their revolution where they were led by Gingrich and finally taking back the House after several decades. That was really crazy. Just for one party to keep the House for that long, it really became like a pipe dream for Republicans to have the House. Like every Republican president just had to accept, all right, I got to deal with Democrats in the House. Not after that. But ever since then, it just flips back and forth every couple of years because neither side can build up a majority as strong as the one that Democrats had from the 50s to the I'd say that because they had it till the early 90s, but it really started to kind of die out by the end of the Reagan era. So probably for like 30 plus years, they had a really good, strong majority, and they've never been able to recover since then. It's the same thing with the Senate. The Democrats had that for about 26 years. So the 1980 presidential election. They didn't have that one for as long, but they still had, both chambers for a few decades until, it started getting reversed in the 80s and 90s. And then ever since then, it's just been back and forth. But they had a really stable grip on. That's why I said that's when it started to turn to the football game where every couple of years, who's going to win the House? Who's going to win the Senate? Who's going to win the White House? But back then, if you were a Republican, you just accept, I'm going to be in the minority. Oh, well, nothing I can do about it. No, that was crazy. I forgot last month. It was Pride Month. I don't pretend my gender identity is a personality trait. So actually, yes, you do. Because if I called you a she, you would curse me out in comments and write novels like the rest of these people. So we know how you really roll. You can say that, but we've actually watched you and how you perform when the cameras aren't, when the streams aren't rolling. No, I just stopped watching your. No, they never just stop watching. They always have to write some like excess of commentary. Every time people write all this nasty stuff about me, I don't usually don't get rid of them. And then like they'll still keep coming back. Like I've had two guys both have these supposed either bad experiences or like be confrontational and like write mean stuff about it, and then they still keep watching. And you know what two I'm talking about because you argued with one of them one time, and then you saw the other one on my stream on I think it was Monday. It will keep coming back. It was that Thanos quote, "You could not live with your own failure." Where did that bring you? Back to me. Did you hear that Gordon Ramsay got accused of cultural appropriation for a dish that's not even real? No, I don't keep up with chefs. I'm not Sanji. You always think you're supposed to like know every different situation happening in the news. Because a lot of these websites don't even talk about this. Like CNN used to talk about that type of stuff, but on a site like, let's say, The Hill, which is the main one I use, if you're a celebrity, unless you're donating to someone or endorsing a candidate or running for office or denying an allegation, you're not going to appear on that site. Oh, by the way, that stream with all the views from last Wednesday got demonetized, but not because of what I said, because of Kyle swearing like a sailor, him and TYT all cursing up a storm, saying every bad word in the book. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I'm not regretting that I did the stream or anything. It's nice when you get compensated for your efforts, if you catch my drift. Because a lot of those romance videos, it's like I have to go and grab those screenshots, remember which account they're on, write out the script, like edit the audio to where it cuts out stuttering or any kind of, just there's a lot that goes into it. So it's nice when you can pick up a coin for doing that. They're over there cursing like crazy. It's like, are you guys serious? I'm over here speaking like a statesman, and these people are saying every bad word you could ever think of. It's ridiculous. It's not juicy enough news. No, that website really will not put stuff like that on there. Every time a celebrity shows up, it almost always has to do with those 4 different things. Somebody said they're going to do a Dio biopic where he's played by Michael Keaton. They're going to use that de-aging technology. They're going to make him look like he did in 92. It's like, let's just pretend this was filmed right after Returns. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, dude, every time somebody makes a video about Black Panther 2, like every time somebody makes a video about it, right? They could just be talking about the production started or this actor said they're excited to work on this again because da 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 da. Every single time that movie gets mentioned, guess what's the first thing you hear? Recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa. I'm like, what the hell? And again, it's like, I guess they think if they spam that opinion enough, everybody's going to just support it automatically. Like, I'm fine with them writing on videos that are about that, but every time you talk about that movie, that's all you see in the comments. Recast T'Challa. Have you seen that? Recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa. I was like, damn, again, if there's videos about that, right? Like getting a different actor to play him. I know there's a petition or whatever, but it's like, I don't have a problem people writing down videos about that because that's the topic. But if they'll just make a video like this actor is being interviewed about the movie, recast T'Challa. The whole comment section. You might say I'm screwed up for this. They're in a tough spot. Well, I mean, my thing is this. If you have a series, like you plan out a sequel to a movie, right? And then about halfway through pre-production, and a couple of months actually before it's supposed to start shooting, your lead actor passes, and you don't want to cancel it because you want to bring back everybody else that signed on to do another one. They really don't get where it's like jarring for those people to have to like work with someone else playing a character of an actor that they all became attached to, whatever. T'Challa has more stories to tell. That was another one of those like phrases that gets spammed everywhere. And I'm like, I don't know if anyone realizes this because most people don't read comics, but Black Panther kind of is like a B or C or even D tier Marvel character. Like his book has been canceled 6 or 7 times to where he just only appears in like Avengers or other like, team up books. I agree about Eternals. I don't know about Widow. Let's have this movie with like 9 or 10 people on one team, and let's hope that these 2 hours can give 9 characters development, including whoever the villain is. What a good idea that'll be. Recast T'Challa. Facts. In the comic books, Black Panther's wife is more popular than he. Storm is easily the best black superhero, just in terms of like being an icon and memorable. Just easily trumps everybody. She doesn't even have her own book, and she's more iconic than Black Panther is. Dude, for years, right? The only black superheroes I ever heard of were Storm and then John Stewart, the Black Green Lantern. Other than that, you never heard about Black. The only thing he was in that anyone like remotely liked was Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And after that movie came out, and everybody loves this character so much. They still don't buy his book, but they love this character so much. Let me not support the publication about this character I claim to be so in love with and think is so diverse and amazing. Dude, that was the saddest thing in the world. It's like these people, like the arguments they're making. I don't, and I'm not going to make a video about it because I don't want them to start harassing me. But it was just like the arguments they're making are so goofy. They're like, you guys have recasted, what was it, War Machine and Hulk. I'm like, yeah, but that was after one movie of them being played by someone else. Because Boseman played, Black Panther in 4 films. So Avengers, Civil War, Captain America, Civil War, then Infinity War, Endgame, and the Black Panther film. So it's not the same. Like this actor played this character in multiple movies, and they just go like, well, let's just get this other person, just like we did these other 2 characters that only appeared in one before we got rid of their actor. We've had like 4 or 5 different Batmans and Supermans and like 3 different Spider-Mans. It doesn't make sense for us to only have one T'Challa. You really are going to compare Black Panther to the big 3 superheroes, really? And those are all in different film series. Like if they rebooted the MCU, like had new actors for everybody, I'm sure they'd have no problem getting a different person to play, Black Panther. But if it's the same continuity, it's like that's another reason why that comparison doesn't work, because for all those different actors that played those different characters, with the exception of because Batman Forever is supposed to be a sequel to Batman Returns. So with the exception of that, the actors always are playing the character in a new continuity, like a new story that is continued. You know what I'm saying? They like to twist stuff. Supposedly they're bringing back Tim Roth Abomination. I don't really know how I feel about that. I mean, I'm fine with bringing him back. They brought back General Ross. We didn't see him in the movie for like 8 years, and then he showed back up. I was like, what in the world? You again. I think that's the biggest absence for an MCU actor. Like he was in Hulk, came out in 2008, and then just gone because there was no Hulk movie. And then like in Civil War just shows up. You again. And M'Baku was more entertaining in the dude. That's what I heard. Like every character was more well liked than the lead. I heard people talking about Shuri. I heard people talking about we call it the Dora Milaje. They were talking about like, and of course they're talking about Angela Bassett because she's easily one of the best, I think, actresses ever. I think she's great. So yeah, like in his own film, he was getting outshined by all these. Yeah, Killmonger was called one of the best comic book movie villains ever. I didn't see people saying Black Panther was one of the best comic book film protagonists ever. See what I mean? Like the villain outshined him. His sister outshined him. The bodyguards outshined him. His friend, M'Baku outshined like everybody. Pretty much anyone that had more than like 2 minutes of screen time was outshining. It was crazy. People like him more than yeah. Dude, you know what's so sad? I'm not even trying to be funny with this. I see the rest of my chat vanish, whatever. In a hypothetical, right, where let's say Boseman lived, and I would have preferred that he lived because I don't like it when people get, like I didn't like it when Heath Ledger passed. I don't like it when actors get these premature deaths that, just it's always sad, right? But unfortunately, I believe that if he lived, they would have done maybe 2 more Black Panther movies, right, where he's like supposedly the lead character, still getting outshined by all these other people, including the villain and everybody around him, right? And then for the Avengers movies, he would have been part of an ensemble where he might have maybe like a cool fight scene, but he still is never the central focus like Iron Man or Captain America or Thor were. So it's like, I don't really feel as if they were going to do much with him anyway. Oh yeah, he would. Yeah, it's ironic. The film that they used him, like when he's used lesser, he's more interesting. That's the screwed up part. But you get what I'm saying, right? That a lot of people are saying he was going to be one of the leaders of the Avengers. I don't see it. Like he's not Spider-Man, who's way more popular. That's just a fact. So I don't see where they were going to really do anything with him that was actually like, oh man, we're going to really miss this. Like I'm way more interested in seeing the sequel because I'm curious of what his absence is going to do for the story, which I think is probably going to be more interesting than this. Like it really is going to seem like a different type of what's a good way of saying it? It's more interesting by his absence than if he were there. And I'm not saying that that him being there would make it boring, or I really hope my words aren't twisted here. I'm saying that Marvel tends to not use characters as much as I would like. Yeah, he doesn't have a big villain roster. You're correct. That's why I think he would have only had 2 more, and they probably were going to be similar to the first one, where the villains and the supporting characters are more interesting than the lead. But I was saying that I don't see where they were really going to do anything with him because people keep saying he has so many stories to tell. Name me a story from any of the Black Panther comics that anyone remembers. Like, they can't. No, they'll get mad at me for saying that, but it's true. Like, no one. This is a character that is cool, or I guess nice, that a lot of people are overstating the importance of just because he had a movie that made $1 billion. It's sad that the main actor passed, but him not being there is not going to be this big movie destroying thing that these people are making it out to be. This isn't like doing a Spider-Man movie without Peter, which, I think would have a good chance of falling or failing. You're doing a film about a character who is not even one of Marvel's most popular characters, let alone one of comics' most popular. And people are just overstating how significant the character is. His story arc was complete in Civil War. That's why it was weird. Like a movie that's not even about him has a bigger arc for him as a character than the movie that was about him. You don't think that's crazy? Imagine, you know what? I'll give you an example. Imagine if in Civil War we see Peter and he doesn't have his powers, and then Uncle Ben, gets, passes, and then that's when he becomes like Spider-Man in that film, and then they do it's like we already saw the big character arc in another film. Like, why would you use that for something that's not even about him? No, all the Black Panther characters are more interesting than T'Challa. Like even his in the comics, his they retconned it used to be his dad, but his grandpa fought with Captain America in World War II. I was like, that would be a really interesting story, seeing like a previous generation version of that identity fighting with the same person that would end up like I think that would be really cool. Or I thought like even that little flashback in the comics was more interesting than T'Challa. I feel like every movie going forward would have to be like that. Yeah, just like, oh, my dad did this, my dad did that. And they already did that with Iron Man, remember? Where like in the first film, his dad gets mentioned over and over. And then the second one, he sees the tape of his dad. And the villain is like, Whiplash is motivated by Howard screwing over his dad. So it's like a sins of fathers story. Like it's literally only the third one where it's the demons of Tony coming back to get him. So they already played this like angle of paternal payback, with Tony. Dude, nobody I know that reads comics reads Black Panther. Seriously, like I haven't met a single person. Like the only people I see that mention him at all are people that don't read them. And again, I think if his actor lived, he would have been in maybe like 2, 3 Avengers movies, and then 2 other Black Panther films, and it would have like for the Avengers stuff, he would just be a side guy because he's not as popular as Spider-Man. He's probably going to get used a lot less than Sam as Captain America because that they had a whole show devoted to showing off the arc of him accepting that mantle. So I don't see where he was going to be this big player that these people are trying to say he would have been. No, there a lot of them are just like they're trying they want to have a black male superhero, which I understand, but they're trying to overstate his significance. If he was still alive, they would have tried to make a Wakanda TV show. Yeah, but you know what else you need to understand though? Who gets the TV shows, right? Not Spider-Man, not Iron Man, not Steve Rogers, not Thor. Characters that are considered less popular. Characters that are considered to be very unlikely to get their own movie. Like you were never going to get a movie with the plot of Winter Soldier, of Falcon and Winter Soldier, because they are effectively Captain America sidekicks. Dude, Black Panther's book got canceled so many. It's getting canceled again. It's like issue 30 something. They're gonna end it there. Or maybe they did already. Let me see. They're on like volume 8. You know what I'm saying? That they leave the shows for the characters that they don't think are the top guys. Uh, oh, they already ended it. Let me. Where's Black Panther? Okay, yeah, they ended it. It's gonna volume 8 is starting in August. And you won't see any of these people talking about how great this character is talking about that book because nobody reads Black Panther comics. That is crazy. Again, I do feel very bad about what happened to Bozeman, but I just wish that people could actually talk about the film outside of recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa. I can't even like, you know what, Dio? Don't even use that excuse because guess what? I know people who still talk about Spider-Man comics, including the new ones, but especially like by Nick Spencer, because I've been told that he's a better writer than Dan Slott. I see people who still talk about Superman. I see people who still talk about Batman. Batman Who Laughs was so popular that he started appearing in a game, DC Universe Online, not even 2 years after he was made. So I know there are people who still read comics, at least certainly of the bigger characters. I'm just saying that it's very telling when I know people who read all these different books that won't bother with Black Panther because he's just not as big of a character as people are making him out to be after that film came out. I know a lot of people that saw that film never picked up a single book. You better believe after I saw, well, I couldn't order comics back then, but I used to have whole boatloads of Spider-Man comics because that was always my favorite. Really, anytime I liked the character, I would try to like read on their stuff. Like I used to have Astonishing X-Men, which is the who wrote that? I forgot his name, but it was the team was Wolverine, Cyclops, Emma, Kitty, and Beast. I really like that book. If all comics are equally bad these days, people are going to pick the popular characters over Black. Yeah, because think about it, right? Let's say you just do Marvel, right? Spider-Man's the most popular one. That's a fact. Then you're going to go to, let's say, Avengers. And if you don't go to Avengers, you might go to X-Men, or you might go to Iron Man or Captain America or Thor or Hulk or Daredevil or Fantastic Four. It's going to take you a while to get to before you're like, let me go pick up that Black Panther comic because nobody reads him. And that's why it's very easy to do a film without the character because he's just not as big of a deal as these people say he is. I'd say Captain America is way more popular, which is true. His comics have sold more. And you remember Civil War is considered one of the best Marvel movies ever to a lot of people. But, you know, they still can do a film with Sam as Cap, even with Steve Rogers being much more popular than T'Challa and indisputably having more stories to tell because he had a longer lasting comic. Recast T'Challa. Dude, they've been spamming that everywhere. I can't go on one video about this movie, but like by an actual popular. So like if I did a video about it, you might not see it there. But I can't go on one video about that movie without having that spam. No, I just don't think they would have used the character as much as people think they would have. Because if you look at the Avengers films, generally speaking, after the first two, if you're not like for the third one, right? It's about Thanos. He's the main character, and then Iron Man, Thor, and Doctor Strange, who's not even an Avenger, are like the big three, but behind him, along with Gamora. And then for the fourth one, it's the original six, and even that's in dispute, with Nebula. So like it's kind of accepted that if you're not part of that that big group that they're like trying to cater to, you're probably not going to get as much screen time. So a Black Panther story is mainly going to be centered in Wakanda, nowhere else. Yeah, and nobody goes to Wakanda. Like out of all the other Marvel movies, right? Outside of Black Panther and Infinity War, and that's even then, like most of that movie's still not over there. Which ones are in Wakanda? Most of the action is in New York. No, they love to spam that thing over the place. And I'm more interested in the movie now, because it seems like they might do something interesting with it, potentially more than the first one. When like you're going to talk, you possibly might have the mantle passed down to another character who has to like grapple with the loss of this person they like. It could be a really compelling story, I think, and a lot of people have like closed their minds to it because they insist on like their recast thing, which again I understand, but it's like if the actors say they don't want it, if the director doesn't want it, I just feel like at a certain point we're really gonna like, and I've seen people say, I'm boycotting this. Like, damn, they act like they fired this man. He passed away, unfortunately, and the rest of the cast and the other people in charge don't want to get somebody else, at least for the time being. I'm sure if they ever reboot the MCU in like 50 years, they'll have another one. Like, and that's my thing. It's like, blame the MCU for being this never ending fest that it seems to be going in. Marvel's not going to pass the opportunity for a black female lead. Have we even had a movie where there was a black woman as the lead character? I don't think we have, like, because even with X-Men, right, like Storm in those films generally is kind of like in the background. So have we ever had a Marvel film where it's been a black woman as the lead actor? I don't think we have. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just, nothing is coming to mind immediately. Oh my God, they're gonna have a woman as Black Panther. It's like, well, they're only doing this because the most of the cast that's on the side of good anyway happen to be chicks. And the only surviving members of T'Challa's family are women. So it's like, dude, people have been doing this. Like, I'm so tired of that stupid SJW where they do like one or two movies where the woman is a lead character, and this is no longer uh about men. This is about women. They're trying to make everything about. I was like, relax. Valkyrie is in Thor 3 is supporting. No, I really didn't like that they had Tessa playing Valkyrie, because I always really liked the look of Valkyrie with the blonde pigtails from Defenders. But they love doing that. They always like changing somebody's ethnicity. Now Valkyrie in the comics is just way hotter than you know. That's another thing. These outfits always cover up the bra. It's like no one can ever wear anything revealing ever. The most you might get is like the front part of their chest, and even that's like, you know. I mean, you saw this with the Supergirl costume, the thing she was wearing, where it's all covered. Like I don't think you can see her hands. Like, are you kidding me? This is bad. Don't show us any more skin of women ever again. You know what I'm saying? It's like there are a lot of really good, I guess, revealing costumes that they're trying so hard to get rid of, and it sucks. It's like, oh my God, the male gaze. The men are the main ones, even who are the reason this stuff exists. Oh, she looked terrible. Dude, Supergirl had so many good costumes from the comics. And like they give her this weird, it looks like something a man would wear. People said it looks like Captain Marvel's costume. I agree. Don't want to have that conversation though. Uh And if that's the case, they need to cover up Jason Momoa. Well, I told you, a man takes his shirt off, or like, you get to see some bare part of him, it's all right. But if it's a woman that we're not even seeing nude, we're just seeing like wearing something that reveals, like, let's say her arms or her legs. Oh my God, the male gaze. Dude, every outfit for every woman in every superhero movie, other than maybe Wonder Woman, is always covered now. It's just, oh my God, from head to toe. I like how Johansson was complaining about being sexualized when literally they were staring at Captain. Oh, I remember, yeah, in Endgame. But here's my thing, right? It's like in Iron Man 2, right? From what I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they call her attractive, but she's not really wearing anything. You know what I mean? Like, all the stuff she wears usually only will show off her arms, maybe. Like, I don't really see what you know what I'm saying? Like, this woman is attractive, and in the film we have her wearing stuff that shows her arms at worst, or her legs. Like, I don't see how that's, and it's like, you still took the job, so clearly you didn't care about being sexualized. Dude, that's a very ironic comment for her to make, because Black Widow's costume, generally speaking, is one of the most like covering up of any female, like outside of a little cut right here that shows like a little bit of her chest, covered from head to toe. That's hilarious for her to say that. Imagine wearing an outfit that covers your whole body, and then you're complaining about being sexualized. I heard more about Black Widow on talk shows. I think Mark Ruffalo called. Oh, no, that was yeah, I remember that. That was when they were doing the what film? It was either Civil War or Age of Ultron. It was one of those two. I think it was Civil War, and it was Chris Evans and Jeremy Renner that were talking about the character being that, and then people online got mad at them and they apologized, but they weren't actually calling Scarlet that. They were calling her character. Yeah, they were joking. Like, like, people joke about characters all the time. No, they get mad over everything. Recast T'Challa. You know what I really hope doesn't happen? That like the Black Panther 2 comes out and it makes more than the first one. If it makes more than the first one, that's going to mean that all these people who are saying you should have canceled this movie's going to bomb. It's going to be a bunch of like, not because there's a lot of stuff you can do with the premise of a new person as the mantle of Black Panther, and like you can show grief that can actually translate well to how people felt about Boseman passing. This idea of this young man that these people cared about, who they supported and loved, no longer being there. It could be a really good story if they you know write it a certain way. But that would be hilarious if it made more than the first. I'd like to see that, just because I'm tired of people saying this movie's gonna bomb because this second, third-rate comic book character that none of us actually care about, because if we did, we would read his book, is not in it. It's like that film, and what's the other one? There's another superhero film, like anytime people say, "I hope this is gonna bomb," or "I hope that," and whatever, these things make hundreds of millions of dollars. It's always funny. The only thing about Shuri taking over as Black Panther, she doesn't come across as stealthy. I think she should get a different suit. Well, this is my thing, right? If you're doing a 2-hour film where she supposedly has more screen time, can't they just have her train? Like, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't expect the film starts and she's Black Panther, but couldn't they just have her grow into that to where she puts on the suit for the first time, maybe, I guess, in the second act or third act, and actually is shown to now be proficient in those skills that her brother had. Because if you think about it, we never really got to see T'Challa train. He shows up in Civil War and knows how to do all this stuff. So wouldn't it be interesting to see her follow a similar path, except we can actually see it, like how it happened, how you go from like kind of just making technology to knowing how to make technology and also being proficient in combat. I'd rather her try to do it her brother's way and fail and realize that she needs to do it in her own fashion and that she's not. Yeah. Well, look, I'm just saying, there's a lot of different ways they can go about it, but I'm just also saying that I think this premise to me right now is more interesting than a hypothetical second one with the character of T'Challa, because it would have just been, in my view, him fighting a different bad guy that nobody's ever heard of. That's probably more interesting than him as a character. And then, just the same old rigmarole. Like, one of the reasons Infinity War was liked by a lot of people because of how different it was from the other Marvel movies, where the main villain is the protagonist of the film, or at least the central character who gets more screen time than the heroes. So doing a sequel to a first film, let's see. Yeah, it's a good premise. Yeah. Like, I'm very curious to see what this is going to look like, more so than I would have been if the character of T'Challa was still used. And that's not saying anything about, being glad or happy about what happened to Boseman, because, again, they could have just recast it to somebody else and said, we're just going to keep doing that same script, but they didn't. So I'd really like to see how this turns out. But it's always just sad when people start, crying because they're not getting their way. Like, I don't like the way that Supergirl costume looks. And I'm still going to go see that film because I want to see Keaton as Batman for the first time in 30 years. And if it sucks, it'll suck because of the story, not because Supergirl wore a costume that looked like complete garbage. Dude, it's so sad that, like, the chick that plays her actually is attractive, and they have her, like, all covered up. They have her hair, like, cut all short. I was like, man, this... They got an attractive woman and just will not use any of it. Like, damn. So sick of Hollywood. Like, that woman is beautiful, and they just sat there and covered all up everything. I thought Boseman got mad on set, though, because they were talking about recap. Yeah, I heard that. Look, I'll look into that, and then maybe I'll discuss on another stream at some point. But they had, like, I saw a video by what's that guy's name, Comic Book Cast, where he mentioned them wanting to replace Boseman before, because nobody could predict what was going to happen to him. But there's like a video from either 2009, it was after Endgame came out, where it was mentioned that they were considering getting rid of him. No, I recall that too. Like, if you go on that guy's channel, you could probably dig it up. And stuff like that's really significant because, it goes back to my premise of T'Challa's not as important of a character as people made him out to be. But you were right that most people don't read comics, but they still will, like, you still have a sizable, devoted group of people who read those big characters. This guy on one of his videos says T'Challa is way too big and important of a character to be retired. They have to recast. How is he too big of a character? What does he do? Nobody can name anything he's done in any comic ever. You see what I mean? Like, they love telling you how important he is, but no one reads his book. That's why it gets canceled over and over again. means that they knew he was sick or they needed the story and they ran out of ideas. Yeah, like I don't know what the premise of a second one would have been that I would find more interesting than not having the lead actor there anymore and having to like make a story around that. Because remember what a lot of people say that like these films have no stakes, characters die and then come back. It's like, no, they're definitely not using him again. So I'd like to see what the grieving process for that would be. And, you know, this isn't like a story where, oh, this character is past and we never, like, we had a whole first film with that character along with 3 other movies, technically. So it actually will affect the viewer in a way as well. The funny thing about Black Panther is even with the multiverse, he's still going to have the same problems in every multiverse. No, they make me not even want to talk about it because all they're going to do is just keep like they spam this everywhere. You can't go on one video about this thing where they're not talking about it. Oh, here it is. I got the video. I'm gonna put it in the I'm gonna put it in the chat so you can like click it if you want. Video came out over a year ago. Um Paste. Or I just posted it. I see it on my phone, but then not on here. I'm gonna open it in another. Watch the ad start playing. It says, "Oops, something went wrong." What in the world? Oh, this website. I click the link and then it sends me into Studio. That's really weird. Okay, so the video is called, and I gotta mute it so I don't, you know, have the ad playing for 90 seconds. Chadwick Boseman leaving Black Panther 2 and MCU casting Black, name more rumors and more rumors. And this is from April of last year. So that's about 3 months before he passed. So yeah, we have proof that they were considering getting rid of that character before, you know, the unfortunate thing happened. So you know, he's just not as important as people make him out to be. And I think a lot of it just has to do with people wanting to play up something and like wanting stuff to always be the same way. So they have to like pretend or like create this idea that that a character is more significant than they ever were. Dude, when they compare him to Spider-Man and Superman and Batman, I just rolling my eyes like, are you guys serious? This can't be real. But they actually say that stuff. We've had all these different Spider-Mans and Batmans and Superman. Why can't we have a second to It's not the same. Like, you really think if now you know I'm not even gonna say it. I'm gonna let them just believe what they like. Somebody wrote last year. So again, this is before he passed. In response to that same video I sent you, this better be fake or there's gonna be carnage. Ooh, I'm so scared. Everybody always sounds so tough online. We haven't had that many Batmans. Well, I mean, again, my point was that even if we've had multiple people play the character, usually it's in a different continuity. And there's no other case in the MCU of an actor playing a character more than once, and then the character is played by somebody else. Never has happened. Red Skull was played by, you know, someone differently. What was it? I don't want to say. I don't want to say the name of who I'm thinking it is, but he was played by someone in the first Captain America, and then played by a different actor in Infinity War and Endgame. Same thing with War Machine. Same thing with Hulk. They play him one time, and they get another person who plays him for the rest of their appearances. Like this idea of you can play the character multiple times and oh we'll just get somebody else to play. It's not that simple. Yeah. I was thinking because I was like, that's the guy that played Megatron in the first Transformers movie. Hmm. Hugo played him in the first one, then he was it was taken over after that. Anyway, I think I talked long enough. This is a nice little, I guess, change of pace from a lot of that chick stuff. So thanks, Dio. I see the rest of the chat vanished into obscurity, but it is what it is. So I appreciate you, Dio. I appreciate other people that were here. I'll stream again on Monday, like usual. Hugo is notoriously hard to work with. Yeah, I've heard that before as well. Um, I mean, a lot of actors they mention stuff like that. So I appreciate you showing up, and have a good rest of your Saturday.